Imagine having more money than you could ever spend in 10 lifetimes, but you can't buy a single thing that actually matters. No medicine when you're sick, no safety when you're threatened, no comfort when you're cold. Just gold, sitting there, useless. Sounds impossible, right? Well, there was a time in human history when being rich was basically a death sentence with better furniture. And honestly, what happened back then completely changed how I think about wealth today. Here's something nobody tells you about money. Wealth is only valuable when the world around you is stable enough to honor it. And there was one period in history, one specific, catastrophic window of time when the wealthiest people on Earth watched their fortunes become completely, utterly meaningless. We're talking about a time when kings died from infected cuts, when millionaires couldn't buy their way out of plagues, when all the gold in the world couldn't purchase the one thing everyone desperately needed: survival. Today, we're diving into the worst time to be rich as a human being, and trust me, the lessons here hit different. Let's rewind to the 14th century, specifically the years between 1347 and 1353. Europe is thriving, trade routes are booming, cities are growing. The wealthy are really wealthy, living in stone mansions, wearing silk imported from China, eating off silver plates. If you were rich in early 1347, life was pretty damn good. You had servants, land, influence, security. You were untouchable. And then, October 1347 happens. 12 ships dock in Sicily. They've just come from the Black Sea, carrying spices, silk, and something else. Something invisible, something catastrophic. Yersinia pestis, the bacterium that causes the bubonic plague. Within 5 years, this disease would kill between 75 and 200 million people. That's roughly 30 to 60% of Europe's entire population. Let that sink in. Imagine if tomorrow half the people you know just vanished. Now here's the kicker. Being rich didn't save you. In fact, in some ways, it made things worse. So why was this the worst time to be wealthy? Let me break it down. Money couldn't buy medicine because there wasn't any. Today, if you're rich and you get sick, you go to the best doctors, get cutting-edge treatments, fly to specialized hospitals. Done. In 1348, there was nothing. No antibiotics, no germ theory, no understanding of how disease even spread. Doctors thought the plague was caused by bad air or an unfavorable alignment of planets. Their treatments? Bloodletting, leeches, burning aromatic herbs. One doctor literally recommended sitting between two large fires to sweat out the poison. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Rich people died just as fast as poor people. Kings, bishops, landowners, gone. Their wealth was irrelevant. You couldn't buy your way out. Normally, when disaster strikes, the rich can just leave, hop on a yacht, fly to a second home, escape. But where do you run when the entire continent is infected? Wealthy families fled cities for their country estates, thinking they'd be safer. But servants brought the plague with them. Traders arrived at their gates carrying infected goods. There was no safe zone. And even if you isolated yourself perfectly, you'd eventually need food, supplies, contact with the outside world. And that contact could kill you. The economy completely collapsed. Here's where it gets really interesting. When half the population dies, what happens to money? It becomes worthless. Think about it. You're a wealthy merchant. You have gold, jewels, property, but there's no one to buy your goods, no workers to farm your land, no servants to maintain your estate. There are records of noblemen offering enormous sums of money for basic services and people refusing. Why risk death for coins when coins can't save your life? One account describes a wealthy man offering a chest of gold to anyone who would bury his dead son. No one came. That's the moment wealth loses all meaning. The psychological horror. Now let's talk about what this felt like. You've spent your entire life building wealth. You've accumulated property, influence, security. You've played the game and won. And then, in a matter of weeks, you realize none of it matters. Your money can't save your children. Your status can't protect your spouse. Your connections can't get you medicine that doesn't exist. Medieval accounts describe wealthy people literally going insane from this realization. Some threw massive parties, spending their fortunes on feasts and wine, figuring they'd die anyway, might as well go out drunk. Others became hyper-religious, donating everything to the church, hoping God would spare them. He didn't. And some just sat in their empty mansions, surrounded by gold and silk and silver, waiting to die. Wealth had become a monument to meaninglessness. The aftermath. Here's the twist, though. The plague eventually ended, and when it did, something wild happened. With half the population gone, labor became incredibly valuable. Before the plague, if you were a peasant, you had zero bargaining power. There were tons of workers and limited jobs. Lords could pay whatever they wanted. After the plague, suddenly there were way more jobs than workers. Peasants started demanding higher wages, better conditions. Some even bought their freedom outright. The rich landowners, the ones who survived, suddenly found themselves negotiating with people they used to own. The plague didn't just kill people, it killed the old economic order. Historians actually argue that the Black Death was one of the key events that ended feudalism and eventually led to the Renaissance. The worst time to be rich became the catalyst for a complete restructuring of society. Okay, so why does any of this matter now? Because the core lesson is timeless. Wealth is only strong as the system that supports it. Your net worth, your investments, your savings, all of it depends on a functioning society, on trust, on infrastructure, on stability. When systems collapse, wealth evaporates. We saw glimpses of this during COVID. Remember when billionaires couldn't buy toilet paper because the supply chain broke? When money couldn't get you a ventilator because there weren't enough? Or look at hyperinflation in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Weimar Germany. People with millions in the bank literally couldn't buy bread. Money is a tool, but tools only work when the machine is running. So here's what I think about differently now. Resilience greater than wealth. Having skills, knowledge, relationships, health, these things hold value even when money doesn't. Can you grow food, fix things, provide value to others? Those abilities transcend currency. Diversification isn't just financial. Don't just diversify your portfolio, diversify your life. Build community, learn practical skills, invest in your health, create multiple streams of value, not just income. Wealth should serve life, not define it. The richest plague victims died miserable and alone, surrounded by treasure that couldn't save them. Don't let the pursuit of wealth cost you the things that actually matter: relationships, health, purpose, joy. The worst time to be rich as a human being wasn't just about the Black Death. It was about the moment when people realized that all the wealth in the world can't protect you from a collapsing system. And honestly, that moment can happen again. Maybe not a plague, maybe it's climate change, economic collapse, societal breakdown, who knows? But the principle remains. True wealth isn't what you have, it's what you can create, who you can rely on, and how you navigate chaos. So yeah, chase your financial goals, build your net worth, secure your future. But don't forget, the people who survived the plague weren't the richest. They were the most adaptable. Be adaptable. If this video changed how you think about money, hit that subscribe button. We're diving deep into financial history, psychology, and the hidden mechanisms of wealth every single week. Drop a comment. What do you think is the modern equivalent of the Black Death for wealth? I'm genuinely curious.